everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Cristin, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can tweeze your eyebrows at home. I know that eyebrow tweezing and threading and waxing can all add up and get really expensive, and just doing them at your house on your own is obviously a lot cheaper. It's a great way to save some money. But it's also not difficult at all to do. I have been doing my own eyebrows since I was 9. This is pre-plucking, so note that. But I've been plucking my own eyebrows since I was 9. It's not a hard thing at all to do. A couple things that you do want to remember though is that eyebrows are hair. If you mess up, they will grow back. If you're just starting out with tweezing your own eyebrows, there's a good chance that you'll mess up. It happens. That's why they make eyebrow products, so you can fix it with a little bit of makeup until they grow back, but they will grow back. Item number 2 worth remembering is that eyebrows are sisters, not twins, so they're not always going to be shaped exactly the same. You can tell with mine, this one has a higher arch, this one's more rounded. That's just their natural shape. That's how they grow. I can kind of fix it a little bit with a little bit of makeup, but even with tweezing and such, they still have a different shape. So I've been letting my eyebrows grow out for a while now so that I can make this video. I've kind of been plucking my unibrow a little bit because I do grow unibrow, but otherwise everything else has been left alone to grow. So let's go over all the items that you're going to need to tweeze your eyebrows at home, and then we'll get started. So in order to tweeze your eyebrows, the most important item you're going to need is obviously a pair of tweezers. Now I can't give you a good recommendation on any tweezers because, as I've mentioned, I've been tweezing since I was 9. I stole these tweezers from my mom, and they are quite possibly older than I am. I love them. I've tried other tweezers that are newer and I just don't like them as well. So I've just kept with these all these years. I'm 27 now. I've been using these since I was 9. You do the math. So they're just a metal pair of tweezers. Obviously they've been made very well because I've been using them for years. If you can tell here, they have a bit of a slant to them. I personally prefer a slant. I've tried ones that have more of a rounded edge. I'm not a big fan of those. So I would say to avoid ones that have rounded tips to them, but that honestly comes down to personal preference. So, I mean, try them both out, see what you like. Second item you're going to need is some facial hair scissors. These a lot of times you can get in like nail kits and stuff like that. So I would definitely suggest checking like your nail section. I know mine are technically like nail scissors, but this is just kind of what they look like. And we're going to be using this to trim our eyebrows so that they have a really nice shape. I like these ones the best because they have the thinnest blade to them, but if you can tell, they do have a little bit of a curve on the edge, so that makes things a little more tricky for me. So when you go shopping for these, I would recommend finding some that are straight across. The other pair that I have are completely straight across, but as you can tell, it's a much thicker blade, which makes it a little bit harder to get to the hairs. So I would recommend something with a straight blade, but really thin. Next thing you're going to need is a spoolie. I would really recommend one. If you already have one, fantastic. I know a lot of people have them. This one is like $1. It's from e.l.f. Super easy to get a hold of. The other thing you can use that will work just as well would be a eyelash comb. And so you would use this edge, at least that's what I use, to brush up your eyebrows. So I could show you both methods when we get ready to trim our eyebrows. So final piece that you're going to need if you're new at eyebrow tweezing, it's a really good guide to have. It's just a natural colored or skin toned eyeliner. This one is the NYX Wonder Pencil. You can use any color you really want to. They just blend out easier if they're closer to your skin tone. So if you want to go ahead and like do your makeup and go on with your day, you can. But if you want to use black or a red lip liner or whatever, it will work exactly the same. You'll just have to go wash it off your face first. So in order to get started, I would recommend taking out any kind of eyebrow jewelry that you may have. So I went ahead and took mine out right there. And then we're just going to go ahead and take our little spoolie brush and comb through our brows just so we kind of know what we're working with, where we're at. The more you brush them up, the better, because under here is where we're really going to do a lot of our work. So just kind of go ahead and give them a quick brush up. Now, of course, if you're using the eyelash brush, I prefer to use the comb in. I suppose you could use either in that you want, but we're just going to do the exact same thing and just kind of give our brows a brush through, bringing them upward. Now, of course, if you're gonna use the other end, you can. They really work about the same, but I feel like the comb end does a better job of separating and making sure everything is lifted upward. So once that's done, we're gonna go ahead and mark our face for where we want to be tweezing at. So a good guideline with your pencil is to take and line this up along your nose, so like right here on the little notch in your nose, and lay it flat. And then you can draw a line. And that's where your eyebrow should start. That's kind of a rough estimate. Mine clearly start a little bit further back, but that's okay. And then we're gonna do the same thing over here. So once you have those marks done, you know that everything in this area needs to go. So how you determine the tail end is you're gonna lay it from right here on the very corner of your nostril and lay it flat, and that'll tell you where your brows should end. So do the same thing on both sides. And now you have your guidelines. So the beginning and the end of your brows. So I've brought you in about as close as we can go, so hopefully you can see the brow hairs here fairly well. So we're just gonna go ahead and clean out this whole area. So taking my tweezers, flat side down, that's the side you wanna have go against your skin. We're gonna grab hold of a hair right here. So I've got one, and then we're gonna pull in the direction the hair is growing. So we're gonna go ahead and do that all over, and you can just grab them and pull them right out, everything between those two lines in the middle of your eyebrows. Now for pain, really it's something that is gonna be like a pain tolerance or endurance. Your endurance to the pain here will build as you tweeze. The more you do it, the more of a pain tolerance you will build. Like I've said, I've been doing this since I was 9, so tweezing my brow hairs doesn't really hurt anymore, but I've recently started tweezing some of my chin hairs. Those don't feel so great. So this is something that you just gotta kind of keep with, but as long as you grab your hairs, sorry, I'm completely out of camera here. As long as you grab the hairs close to the base and you pull in the direction of the growth, the pain should be fairly minimal. So now that I've got everything right in the middle here tweezed out, we can go ahead and start working on our arches and underneath of our brows here. Now something that you can do is you can go ahead and mark off what brow hairs you want to be tweezing. I personally don't like this method myself. I feel like I really kind of miss some brows when I do this, but you would just go in with your pencil, and then right along the thickest part of your brow, you're gonna draw a line, the thickest under part, and this is gonna kind of map out what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. And then the theory is that everything underneath of this line is what you want to tweeze. I'm just not a huge fan of doing that. I feel like it's not an exact, but you just go in here, grab them, and tweeze everything in the direction of growth. Again, the closer you grab to the root to pull from, the less it's going to hurt. And of course, the more you do it, the less it's going to hurt. This is a pretty sensitive area, not gonna lie, so be gentle, try not to pinch the skin. It'll probably happen. I know that I still pinch the skin on occasion and it doesn't feel great, but that's okay. And you just clean up everything underneath. Okay, so here you can see that this one here has been cleaned up underneath. It has a pretty good line straight here on the underneath. All the brow hairs are brushed up, so they definitely look bushy. But we're looking right here along the very bottom, nice, clean, neat line versus this guy who is still quite bushy. So I'm gonna go ahead and pluck him really quickly. Okay, so I've got both of them cleaned up underneath. They have decent structure and shape to them. So taking the eyebrow brush, we're actually gonna brush everything downward this time. And this is gonna give us an idea of what needs to be plucked off the top. Now, typically there's not a whole lot of hair that needs to be plucked off the top. You'd probably be okay with completely skipping this step, but this is still something that I like to do. And I personally freehand it because when you do this, like, it's kind of hard to see. You can't so much draw a line and say this is what I want to get rid of, because if you did that, you really end up getting rid of a lot of hair that you want to keep. So just be careful when you do this. Again, it's a step that you can definitely skip. But we're just going to brush this all down. And then anything that just kind of looks out of place, like anything that's like super high above everything else, as you can see, I'm plucking pretty far above my brows. Just gives me an idea of all these little stray random hairs hanging out that are kind of far away from everything else. Most of these I find above my arch, like my arch just kind of keeps on going up. So there's typically not a whole lot of that to take care of. Like, again, like I said, you can completely skip that step. So we're gonna go back in and we're gonna spoolie everything right up, and this time we're gonna go through and scissor our brows. So straight up with everything. So this one's a little more difficult to explain as to what I'm doing, so hopefully I can make sense of it. So everything right through here, you can see how there are some hairs that just stick drastically above everything else. They're just much higher than everything else. I'm trying to brush everything in the right direction. So right here in the front, you can just see like super long hairs. You can kind of tell where like the main look of my brow is, where like the main line of it is right here. And then I got all these brow hairs that go way above it. So we are gonna trim all the way across, but we're gonna start off with just the front because it's something that you're gonna have to like brush, trim a little, brush, trim a little. So coming right underneath the hairs with our scissors, we're just gonna start lightly trimming them. And you can tell it kind of pushes them back down. So we're gonna have to go back through and brush them back up so we can see where they're at. It's a lot easier if you can come from the other side of your brow, typically, like this direction. But even still, it can be a little tricky because it's like, what shape are you getting? And remember, take off less. You can always go back in if you need to. Take off too much, you can't put it back. And my scissors are a little bit harder to use because they have that curve to them. So, like I said, get some that have a flat edge. It definitely makes this step a lot easier with how to like hold your scissors and stuff like that. Whereas mine have to be kind of twisted a little bit. So starting here at the very edge, and we're just gonna give it a little trim up. There we go. And we now have a nicely sculpted brow versus these ones that are still quite a bit more bushy, quite a bit more going on, versus a little more sleek and a little better shaped. So go ahead and spoolie these ones up and do the same thing. Okay, now we have them both scissored. You might decide to go back in and tweeze a little bit more right off the top if there's anything that is more visible that's just a little out there. Again, be careful, because this is something where you can very easily just take off way too much brow hair. So just go a little bit at a time, have a look at it, be careful, don't go crazy. Just any little brow hairs that look like they're out of place. Okay, well that is how I do my brows, how I scissor them and tweeze them all here at home. Definitely gives them a pretty good shape, nice and clean. If you guys want to see a brow makeup tutorial, that will be coming tomorrow, so definitely hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like if you did enjoy it, if you found it helpful, that way other people can find this video as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. Again, I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you in my next video.